Welcome back. Let's get into the meat of this new year and where we are at. Now, with the new year comes a host of breaking stories, getting the nation talking. Hopefully you are talking right now. If not, let's see if we can spark that conversation. That is why we have set aside a slice of our morning to delve a little deeper into the most recent news, and we've got some of the best experts in their respective fields to help us do it. And today we are joined by news editor Roy Simpson as we discuss some of the biggest headlines on the front pages of newspapers across Mzansi. Not to strike fear into your heart, we want to actually inspire you to do something about it. So we encourage you to join the conversation. You can join in on that discussion and share your thoughts and your opinions using our WhatsApp line 063-408-8863. It's a morning show. Keep it PC. Good morning, Roy. Compliments of the season, my friend.
Thank you. You too.
I could use a long question or a short question, or one word: load shedding. We are at an interesting place. Our first stop obviously has to deal with load shedding and the various phases of the sine wave that we've been through. We have seen, obviously, a very public apology, courtesy of our president, that has received some criticism. Obviously, it is a very regrettable situation. We understand this. Why are we here? Why have we gotten to this point, first of all?
Well, I think that's where the president's apology, I regret it, kind of just falls a little bit flat. It's a bit weak because he's part of the structure that got us here. It's very clear that this is a historical thing, that it's taken a long time to get us here, and that a lot of it revolves around the ANC's internal politics and how they've managed state-owned enterprises in particular. So that's how we got here. Where we're at, of course, is possibly where we should be talking and where we go from here.
So what do we do? Are we going to be able to keep the lights on? Because at the moment, it does not feel like there is a workable plan at the moment.
I think the first thing I'd say is that, this is not the workable plan. The idea of bringing Eskom in under Gwede Mantashe's ministry certainly isn't. We know him to be someone who has opposed renewable energy. We know him as someone who has tried through backroom politics and skullduggery to push through a nuclear build program, which was never going to be the solution. And also it has pushed through the Coburg rejuvenation down in Cape Town, our only nuclear power plant, extending its life by 20 years. And to kind of get that to happen, he's even fired Peter Becker, who was the only voice on that board going, do we really need nuclear? And he went, oh, no, conflict of interest, off you go, and just booted him out. So no, he's certainly not someone who is going to take us out of here. I suspect the only way out of here is to redesign the grid itself so that it's like bilateral, so that you can sell energy to the grid and then get South Africans everywhere to make their own electricity and sell it to Eskom.
The snake eating its own tail. Do you see over this next fiscal year, a shift from the current trend, or must we just bite hard and accept the fact that this is where we're going to be for the next year at least?
I don't know if we're the ones doing the biting. I think we're being bitten. That 18.65% that NERSA gave Eskom the other day, it's worse than that because next year it's 12.74%. So you add the two together, and two years from now, May in 2 years, we're paying 34% more for electricity. Now, that's going to affect the input costs of all manufacturing. So, anything that uses heat, that uses a lot of electricity, that's going to have to go up by sort of a proportional amount. So this is what's going to impact inflation. We're looking at this making, like a 1 or 2% impact on inflation.
But that being said, obviously we know the focus on the war in the Ukraine at the moment and the ripple effect that's sent in terms of cost of living, even here in South Africa with tariff increase. Are we going to see another year of financial pressures in that sense? How must we brace ourselves at this point of our own financial journeys as the individual living here in South Africa?
Brace yourself. Brace yourself, Sheila.
Bite down.
We really have to look at what we can do to sort ourselves out. I think that you just have to accept that with the increase in your electricity costs, then the inflationary pressure, that we've just got to work out a way to do the same with less, or to live with less. It's going to be a horrible year ahead, and the auguries for the year after that aren't that great either. Aren't I just Mr. Happiness?
You are on the first day of the year. Don't worry, Arsenal beat Spurs yesterday, so it's just that kind of a morning. The opportunity here is that there is opportunity in hardship, and we'd love to hear your solutions. We had your thoughts, your rants this morning. If you'd like to have your voice heard, 063-408-8863. That's the WhatsApp line to use. We're going to continue to talk a little load shedding after this.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back as we continue our conversation with editor Roy Simpson as we discuss some of the biggest headlines on the front pages of newspapers across Mzansi. A little bit earlier, we covered the crisis at Eskom, including President Cyril Ramaphosa's response to the worsening load shedding and the upcoming tariff hikes as well. And we're going to continue to look at that and some international stories as well. And we've encouraged you to have your voice heard this morning and join that discussion. 063-408-8863. And Alan weighed in. Let's hear what you had to say. Alan, good morning.
Good morning, team. This is Alan from Cape Town. I would just like to ask, why does the Western Cape, on average, get 6 to 8 hours of load shedding per day compared to the other provinces 2 to 4 hours per day?
This is an interesting one. I wasn't aware of that particular, saying that Western Cape is experiencing more than other areas. All I've seen over the last month is every single person that I know in Johannesburg has now moved down to the Western Cape. What is going on? Why is it different in different areas? Is there a political motivation? Is it a structural thing? How have you reasoned this out?
No, well, I also wasn't aware that there was a difference where Joburg was getting more, because the city of Cape Town inherited a facility, a hydroelectric facility called the Steenbras Dam, which actually allows them to protect from 1 or even 2 stages of these rolling blackouts. So I was actually under the impression that the Western Cape, or the city of Cape Town, was getting less than other people. But it's also about how much supply is available, because it's not like you plug in everywhere and it's universally available.
Yeah.
It's got to travel. So it's about where it's being generated as well.
Supply and demand. I think he was just being political and he was trying to get a few of the Joburgers to move back up from Cape Town. When we talk about the knock-on effect of why we all need to be thinking about Eskom right now, take me to the front page of the Sunday Times. Courts forced to go viral.
Virtual. So this takes us...
What on earth?
Well, this takes us back to the pandemic. This is where we can't physically come into a courtroom together and hold a trial. Now it's because of the lack of electricity. And I think we need to see this in these terms, the pandemic terms.
Yeah.
I think it tells us just how serious this issue is. You know, it's really important in terms of battling crime that justice gets seen to be done. Study after study has shown that the apprehension of some kind of a consequence is really what stops people. Whether it's a month in jail or the death penalty isn't the issue. Yeah. It's the fact that there will be consequences. And without functioning courts, you're not going to have that. So I think this is a signal of just how serious this is, that we're dealing with something major. And of course, it's going to impact on our other pandemic, on gender-based violence, because that's where we need the courts to step in and help us. So I think this is a signal that we should be angry.
On the most fundamental level, something has broken down. Let's talk about COVID, seeing as you've brought that up. Thanks for doing that. You're the first person in 2023 to bring up COVID. We've seen a resurgence, obviously, here in South Africa. We'll get onto that new strain here. Looking at China, the IMF has obviously spoken about a very tough year ahead financially for the whole world. 2/3 of the world, in fact, likely to feel the knock. China, especially. China has had a zero COVID policy. 60,000 deaths now recorded most recently. And the word on the wire is that this is nowhere near how much has actually happened in the country. Can you bring us up to speed with what's going on in the, I suppose, ground zero of where this all began?
Absolutely. I think the proof is that the zero COVID policy was a mistake. What our experience was, as much as we tried, we had lockdown and all of these things. What happened is we got some kind of a population immunity going. We had enough people catching the virus that we sort of lowered its impact. China didn't do that. So you've got this vast population that isn't internally inoculated in any way.
Speaking of the new variants coming around, variant XBB.1.5, it just rolls off the tongue. But it's good because it means that we're not saying it that much because we don't matter, or it doesn't matter as much as previous strains? Am I thinking about it in the most positive way possible, or am I wrong? How should we be feeling about this? It is one of the most catchable, we know this, but is that the natural course that a virus should follow and eventually peter out? Where do we sit, or how should we feel about this?
I know the media has dubbed it the Kraken, which is this frightening name.
Yeah.
But the WHO, the World Health Organization, hasn't given it its own name because basically it's not important enough. It is a subvariant of Omicron. And we've had Omicron run wild through here.
Yeah.
And also remember when Omicron came out, that was the most spreadable of all of them.
For sure.
And this is the same. So yes, it's going to run riot, but I don't see much in the way of impact. And in the US, for example, where across the north of America, 70% of all cases are this variant, but you're not seeing the hospitals collapse. So no, nothing to panic about.
Not putting a strain on the health system at all. Oh, buddy, thank you so much, man. Good to connect with you. Look at that smile, man. How can you take news like that the wrong way with a smile like Roy's? But we want you to continue sending us any voice notes about anything that has got you thinking, got you talking this year. 063 408 8863. We'd love to hear from you.